It's been a few weeks after Thomas's near miss with Edward's trucks, and as usual, Sir Topham Hatt visits Thomas as a daily checkup.
Hello, he always said to Thomas. Remember, don't be impatient, Thomas. You can never be as strong and fast as Gordon, but you can be a really useful engine. Don't let the silly trucks tease you.
I don't know. It's not normally the trucks teasing the engines at this point. It's more of just being, well, troublesome. That is in their name, isn't it? They aren't the teasing trucks. Anyway, Thomas has been learning how to manage these little chatterboxes and make them do what he needs them to do. And as far as we've seen right now, the shunting yards do not seem to be anywhere else but next to Tidmouth's sheds. Seeing Thomas be content with that is a bit surprising, only because he's not moving that far from where he sleeps. Remember, after all, he wanted to see the world, quote-unquote, and moving all of about an acre over into another yard isn't exactly what Thomas desired so much. From what it looks like, though, Thomas is finally gaining an appreciation for the shunting yards. But in the yard, there was one rolling stock vehicle that Thomas had no idea about.
There was also a small coach and two strange things his driver called cranes. That's the breakdown train, he told Thomas. The cranes are for lifting heavy things like engines and coaches and trucks.
No worries, though, Thomas. It's not like you'll need it for anything anytime soon. Okay, scratch that. That's because sometime after, Thomas heard cries for help. The character shouting for assistance was none other than the fifth engine we haven't really taken a good look at yet, that being James the Red Engine. Unfortunately for him, James was dealing with two problems. One being that the troublesome trucks were pushing him, and two being that his old-fashioned wooden brake blocks weren't doing worth a crap to stop the trucks.
They're pushing me, he panted. On, laughed the trucks. Still whistling, help, help! Poor James disappeared.
To Thomas's disbelief, he garners up the gumption to grab the breakdown train and head off to help James.
Thomas worked his hardest. Hurry, 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 he puffed. He wasn't pretending to be like Gordon. He really meant it.
Unlike what we've seen in the past, this is a new side to Thomas. Instead of griping all the time about his woes, he's finally setting off to help out another engine who has a lot more to be upset about. Meanwhile, James is laying in the rural landscape waiting to be rescued.
James's driver and fireman were feeling him all over to see if he was hurt. Never mind, James, they said. It wasn't your fault. It was those wooden brakes they gave you. We always said they were no good.
Okay, so finally we get to see our first troublesome truck accident. Lovely, isn't it? For now, yeah, but we still haven't seen a gigundo calamity yet. As Thomas arrives, he begins to relocate the undamaged trucks, with epic music to boot.
He was hard at work, puffing backwards and forwards all afternoon. This'll teach you a lesson, this'll teach you a lesson, he told the trucks.
Hey now, don't get too mad, Thomas. You don't want the truck flying into the workers right next to it. It looks like James is thinking to himself, can I be taken care of now? Once all the trucks were removed, James is finally brought back onto the rails with another tune only a true fan would recall. I like how the tune and Thomas gazing upward makes it feel like James is being lifted as high as Cranky the Crane. But who's that character? References I shouldn't make too soon, that's what. Ready to head home, Thomas and James puff back to Tidmouth's sheds, where they meet up with Sir Topham Hatt. Impressed and satisfied with Thomas's rescue efforts, Top Hat gives Thomas a surprise of his own.
James shall have some proper brakes and a new coat of paint, and you shall have a branch line all to yourself. Oh, thank you, sir, said Thomas.
That's one heck of a promotion if you ask me. Now having a branch line all to himself, Thomas can't stop being happy. His two new coaches, Annie and Clarabelle, of who we saw a few episodes back, are now his and his alone. And although he's currently busy performing his new role on the island, Henry and Edward still visit and update him on current events. Even Gordon, who's always on the move with the Sodor Express, is thoughtful enough to happily greet Thomas when passing by.
Gordon is always in a hurry, but never forgets to say poop poop, and Thomas always whistles peep peep in return.
Of the many character arcs so far, this was the most praiseworthy. And I don't say this only because it's mainly about Thomas. Thomas has a wonderful arc here in this showing. That's what this episode focused on, sure. But seeing events unfold to the point where more than one character is content with another's actions being rewarded is gratifying to see. If now Henry and Gordon, the two biggest engines, respect Thomas for what he did that day, that means all the characters have grown a bit from where they started. Recollect that if it weren't for Edward giving Thomas the opportunity to take his trucks for a spin, Thomas wouldn't be at this happy point in his career. Whether Edward did that just to shush Thomas or was actually being kind doesn't matter. I still think it would be funny if Edward did have a different motive, like he's really got other plans. Maybe he wanted to be the #1 engine. Dun dun dun. As for James, even though not too much was done with him right now, we've only seen him in the background of prior episodes. There will be a time to expand on his personality anyway. All we know right now about him was that he needed new brakes and is the red #5 engine. We also got to see another rolling stock vehicle. The breakdown train was the first crane to be ever shown on this series, like as to now where we have several others. This was the original crane. Also, when it comes to Sir Topham Hatt, we again get another glimpse into the power this man has over the engines. Within a day and a snap of a finger, he can declare a new branch line for an engine. Hatt's gotta have millions if he can do this. I wonder what his net worth is. But realistically, this is another demonstration as to how Hatt can be firm, but willing to reward when he sees the need to. The music is still top-notch here, as usual, and the model sets are still the same great quality. As for camera angles, we get a few new scenery shots like a different view in front of the shunting yards, the bridge, Thomas's new branch line station, and the field where James had his accident. The ending, where the sky was the pink salmon, really made things wonderful because it gave the overall tone a warm, welcoming feeling. It's an enjoyable episode for sure.
The next episode is James and the Coaches.
Thanks for watching.